Deputy Speaker, I move that Parliament take note of the statement, and I just want to offer one or two words in support of the good Minister's statement.
Make your statement.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, you may look in plenty restlessness lo country blimi. Many of our youths have left school off at grade 8, have left school off at grade 10, have left school off at grade 12 with no obvious future for them. Those that have left school off at grade 8 are only 15 or 16 years old. Those who left school off at grade 10 are only 16 or 17 years old. Those who left school off at grade 12 are only 18, 19, or 20 years old in some instances. They are children of our country we have left behind. Today, Mr. Deputy Speaker, if we look at it, the total number of students we've left behind, and if I just take the last 10 years for instance, we have produced more school dropouts with no future after grade 12 or no future after grade 8 exam or grade 10 exams. This is a serious problem we need to address today. That is why the Higher Education Minister has come out with his statement up front. In the face of us going forward in 2023 and beyond, and for the next 10 years, I just want to make an appeal to all of us at different strata of leadership, at the district level, at the provincial level, and at the national level. Maybe in the education space, all of us make a concerted effort to have a handle of this problem that is now a national security matter. If we don't address proper intervention in the education space, the youths of today and the youths of tomorrow will be living in a place where they are not employed or they're not skilled to find employment or create employment. And the problem we see today where urban areas and in the rural areas where restlessness due to unskilled and not engaged citizens of our country, this problem will compound and increase going forward into the future. To secure the future of our country, we must make investment in the education sector and the education space. If you look at the statistics that we are currently having, only 11,000 spaces exist in our tertiary schools right now. That's what the Minister has pointed to us, 11,000 spaces. Yet, from grade 12 examinations, the 30,000 who sit, we just send 11,000 into our existing universities and colleges, and the 19,000 has been left behind. If you do your mathematics, if 19,000 has been left behind the last 10 years, we've left 190 youths of our country behind in the last 10 years, not to mention the years before the last 10 years. That is not to include the 50,000 we've left after grade, rather the 70,000 we've left after grade 8 exams. That is not to include the 50,000 we've left after grade 10 exam. So you have dropouts at grade 8, you have dropouts at grade 10. And so, as a government, we decided to put a pulse on the higher education space as well as the lower education. We want to create minimum for the next 10 years, 20,000 new spaces to bring our space in post-education opportunities, post-grade 12 education opportunities in our country to about 30,000 by this time, 10 years from today. At the lower education, we are focused on ensuring all our children educate themselves to year 12. I give you one example. In my district today, there's an institution called Hope Institute. Over 400 students are sitting grade 10 and grade 12 exam utilizing the FODE pathway of second chance education our government has introduced. The last 3 years, we've brought back 50,000 kids who've been out of school into upgrading their marks to grade 10 and grade 12 through the FODE structure. I point to all districts who are here today and all provincial governments have a keen interest in the education of our youths who are in our districts and in our provinces. At this time, I put to the districts and provinces, you have a handle on the primary school and the high school and secondary school. National government is looking at looking in a concerted manner to expand, without compromising quality, expand the tertiary spaces. And the minister in his statement has alluded to 20,000 more new space. We will subscribe to Western-based education standard. And I've just returned from USA, I've returned from Australia, I've returned from UK. These three countries are now opening up, we're working to open up for us to export not just labor at the lower end, but skilled Papua New Guineans who can also work outside. And so our focus on education is not just a social sector approach. It's more like in an economic sector approach, training Papua New Guineans with skills and qualifications to work in our own country and create employment, as well as our export for them to work in those markets or workplaces that we, through our bilateral relationship, are trying to secure. So, Milak, you may give him big support along Minister of Higher Education. We've now, in the last cabinet ago, we approved a specific ADB lending program to make expansion, that expansion of our tertiary education space, creating 20,000 more new spaces. And we will be targeting, in the first instance, our existing universities and colleges. Instead of building new one, the Higher Education Minister is also trying to ensure the use of government policy to allow for quality learning institution providers to come in as private institutions, but with standards that is approved by ourselves, and also is trying to utilize the use of ICT to allow education to be given right throughout our country. I just want to conclude by asking all of us, let us put our pulses on the education sector. Therein contains the security and safety of our country going forward. We want to train not just giving them education, maths, English, science, social science, but more importantly, create a holistic citizen so that hopefully this time, 10 years from today, you and me are living in a better country that has skilled Papua New Guineans coming out of our school system, and hopefully the 30,000 spaces we create in our country can also be spaces that create productive Papua New Guineans. I just want to conclude by saying we also as a government, depending on funding, may come up with a program to look at partnering neighboring countries who are willing to accept our students for study. When I visited Indonesia for a bilateral relationship, Mr. Deputy Speaker, Indonesian President did indicate, that there are 2,000 spaces in Indonesian technical and universities, technical colleges and universities available for us. And so we're also looking at to fill in the gap of the 90,000 present dropouts, sending students to schools in the region and abroad who could be also training our students in our pursuit to give skilled and qualified Papua New Guinean adults in our country instead of having people out of grade 12, out of grade 10, and out of grade 8 with no skill and semi-educated. Mr. Speaker, let us support the Higher Education Minister get to work in this sector. Thank you very much.